Welcome to The Fix. I'm your host, Brock Bevel. Today on the show, I have Kris Kobold. Welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. I'm super excited to be here.
So before you got here, we kind of discussed a little bit about our addiction story. I know that we share some similarities. I know that we become friends through addiction recovery. But what I wanted to specialize or talk and focus on today is addiction recovery, addiction during the holidays.
One of my favorite times of year.
Yeah?
And there's a lot at stake during the holidays. So yeah, I'll be excited to share with you everything I can.
So then do this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you the first question. What's your experiences, positive or negative, in and out of the holidays?
Gosh, of course, living to this ripe old age of me, I have had a lot of experiences in sobriety, when my life has been on track, and then those times where it hasn't been. And those times, where it hasn't been, sadly, I felt like my holidays have been a non-factor. I've been neglected from guest lists. I've been, kind of forced into family situations. And on the flip side of that, when my business is right, when I'm putting my sobriety first, man, it's just been magical times. But for my whole life, my Christmases, holiday seasons have been affected by alcoholism and addiction, family members leading to myself. So it has taken some effort to train myself out of some of those negative situations.
Okay, I like that. What I did ask some folks before I got here because I wanted to have a plethora of information for you, and some of the biggest stressors that they feel that are brought onto them during the holidays is family stress, some financial stress because you're always feeling like I got to buy the best gift, and that creates just a whole nother realm, especially as an addict, because you're trying to part out your money. And then another one was seeing family and the travel. Can you speak on those?
I can. I've been around sobriety enough to where there's some maybe some canned answers, but very effective answers for times where I've gone into an office situation, office party. I think I consider where I'm going before I'm there. I know who I am as an addict going in, and maybe be mindful of those people who might be offering me drinks, or those people who I've partied with through office situations before. Just being aware of those things lets me figure out how to be respectful and how to stay healthy. In family situations, I hope that I've been doing some work with my family leading up to, the 20th of December, whatever the case might be, so that those relationships aren't put to an ultimate test just because it happens to be Christmas. I'll be working on my sobriety and working on those relationships for the whole year, or those times leading up to.
That's the difference, is you're working on those relationships on a daily basis, right? We're trying to rekindle these relationships. I can remember as a kid, some of the experiences I had with members of the family, friends that I had that were addicts, which I really didn't know. I didn't associate with it because I was kind of young. But I remember a time my sister's running down the street screaming and yelling, and I was like, what is going on? And what I didn't understand was I was always waiting for that to happen. I was waiting for the bottom to drop out, like some family member was going to freak out, or someone was going to do something that was going to throw off our family dynamics. And as I got older, I've just distanced myself from it. During my addiction, I totally distanced myself from it. Can you speak on that?
Well, I can, in that I know when I was in the throes of active addiction that I was a quitter in the aspect if there was any risk of uncomfortable spots, I was nowhere to be found. And today, considering what's at stake, those heartfelt moments, that opportunity to experience what real Christmas is, I'm able to recover from that, and really to see a lot more value in my health and my time with my family.
So how long have you been sober?
It's coming up on just 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Excellent. In the 2 years, do you see a huge difference in holidays than you experienced during your active addiction?
Man, massive difference. And you brought up the idea of financials. This might be the first Christmas that I've got even a little spare money. But in these recent ones, the true meaning of Christmas, those things on fresh beginnings, on time spent with those that we care and love about, it's so valuable to me. Yeah.
So how do you speak to the addict? I want to get in your head for a second. How do you speak to the addict that's coming out of, that's in recovery, has 30, 60, 90 days in recovery, and they're approaching some of these Thanksgiving events, Christmas events, New Year's, and they've caused destruction in their home. Like they're coming back and everybody's a little bit nervous because we've lied to them, we've been deceitful, we've stolen from them, we're the ones that are causing the scene. So how do you speak, what would you say to them?
Well, I would hope even after 30 days that you've got some connection with people who understand you. It's really important for me to have somebody I'm legitimately honest with that understands how vulnerable I can be in that new sobriety. And maybe before that family event, I have a plan. Give them a call, talk about what's on my mind. I'm welcome to call them after the family event, maybe even take them with me. Because that real understanding on who I am and that level of honesty in those uncomfortable situations with just a person can prove invaluable.
Let's talk about going home. A lot of us have used in the home in the past. We're being placed in the same bedroom that we've been placed in before. We're amongst family members that maybe trigger us. So how do we speak to this?
That's certainly the case. I used a lot in my home back in Colorado. And gosh, without being a broken record, I really think knowing who you are and knowing where you're going and having a plan. And maybe I journal in my life. I write things down that are both for the good and for the bad, things that are on my mind bothering me. And maybe taking a minute before that minute to put those things on paper and see them just for what they are. You know, I'm with my family, and today it can just be a bedroom. It doesn't have to be a place that meant so much negative energy.
Okay, I like that. A psychologist said that going home is sometimes more powerful for the addict to experience than re-experiencing a relapse.
I can believe that.
Yeah?
Because whatever that negative memory, if I've had 5 years, 10 years for that to snowball in my head, in my life, gosh, the power that it can have once it comes to a head again, I can see where they're coming from.
Do you think some of those emotions maybe not emotions, but these feelings that we're bringing up, how do we get rid of them? You know, I know that in the AA process, one of them is to start making amends, but that process of just showing up, I've only got 30, 60 days of sobriety under my belt. How do I just show up to these events without making some of these amends?
Oh, that can be a tough spot. Early recovery can be a delicate thing. But I know that a lot of my active using, I lived in maybe not a real realm of reality. I supposed on what people thought about me. I supposed on how they were going to react to me. And oftentimes, most of the time, I was wrong. So sometimes, maybe leading with a telephone call, maybe taking that temperature of that relationship before you get there can help set things at peace. Show up and enjoy some turkey. Man, yeah.
How about that personal ownership? I really want you to talk on that because I've seen what you have done and accomplished in your own life. I don't know if we need to put that out there, but I know you've had a difficult relationship with your mom. But how about taking that ownership? And in reality, our family, they're so willing to forgive us if we're really coming to the table equally. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And if you add up those daily lies, you know, and then you add up those real big disappointments, my family did deserve and has been given the time and opportunity to air their discomfort with me and air their disappointment with me. And over that time, I hope that I've provided a platform where they can have confidence today that those things aren't going to happen, you know, and I've got a plan that I've shared going forward that might prove that those things aren't going to happen again. But there are some vulnerable times when you're trying to put everything out and to prove that you're a new man.
I like that advice you gave to take someone with you.
Yeah.
How'd that come about?
Well, I've had some experience both in the 12-step rooms and in other facilities, and that's always been a spot where you'll have called a sponsor or call it somebody you look up to, has something that you wish you had, and maybe grabbing that person who has experience in realms that I haven't yet, that can help sort through those ideas of what I think or what is real, make things a little easier.
I want to speak to, we as addicts cause a ton of trauma in our families' lives. A lot of it happens during blackout stages where we say things or we do things that we don't remember. Our family's holding this discomfort or animosity or anger towards us. What would you tell the addict today or a family member today to not make it easier for them to approach and come together, but what advice would you give family members that this person is actually changing?
Gosh, from my experience, my family had given me the benefit of the doubt through years of hard times. And I think through that 30-day, 90-day marker, there's going to be some real telltale signs that things are legitimate now. So I think honest communication is a big piece. I live a faith-based life, so sometimes I'll touch base with my spiritual advisor, something like that, to look for guidance. But I honestly think that 30 days of legitimate sobriety and putting in some work on that sobriety, that it'll be real plain to those family members that things are changing.
We have a lot of men that come through the program 5-6 times, not our program, but different programs in the nation. And I know the family members are thinking, hey, I've seen this before. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. How do we overcome these, I don't know what you even call them, these moments of, I know we can't speak for the families because we're really not on that side, but how do we ease that addict's mind that, hey, it's going to be okay, like this time's different?
Well, I think from my experience, what is different this time is the daily commitment, just the daily commitment. And I've used an analogy with some friends that my work in sobriety is a lot like making my bed. To where you make your bed every day for 30 days straight. You're a person who makes their bed. You're in sobriety, and you've given it attention every day. And maybe you only do 29 out of 30 days, but you're still in recovery. But you turn into that person who hasn't made their bed for 7 days, and you're back to being that person who's not paying attention to your sobriety.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with The Fix. Welcome back to The Fix. I'm your host, Brock Bevel. Today on my show, I have Kris Kobold. Kris, in our first segment, we were talking about recovery and during the holidays. What I really want to do right now is I want to give the viewers, I want to give the people of our community some tangible tools that they can go home with. I know that the holidays are tough for some people. I want to start with this depression. Suicide rate goes up during the holidays. Isolation goes up. We don't want to leave the home. We choose not to go visit family. So let's speak on that.
Well, I think a lot of what maybe in the past has kept me out of some wonderful events has been fear. Fear of the unknown, or maybe hiding from some of my past. So of course my faith helps with those things. But I also try to make sure that I communicate, with those people that I love and know what to expect. For maybe I'm afraid there's going to be too much booze or too much partying activity. A little communication can help with that. As far as the depression goes, again, taking these holidays as another day and continuing to put the work into your sobriety is how I try to stay in front of those things and make sure that I'm present in my life and not at home on these wonderful days.
So we talk about big triggers during the holidays, 4 of them. HALT, right?
Yeah.
Hunger, angry, lonely, tired. So a lot of us, that loneliness during the holidays, what happens if it's legit? What happens if I have a family member, a friend, someone that's going to be at this party, this Christmas party, they're going to be at my table for Thanksgiving? What if they're toxic in my life? We always talk in addiction recovery, you got to eliminate these toxic people. How do we handle that situation?
Man, it can be a difficult situation because family deserves family, but I try to keep my sobriety first. So though I I might welcome the opportunity. I might really have to take the temperature of that whole situation, because without my sobriety, I don't have much. In fact, I don't feel like I have anything without my sobriety. So maybe I'd have opportunity to gauge how much toxic is going to be at that table and make some real decisions. I got to give myself enough freedom to know where I need to be.
So you're telling me, if I'm reading between the lines, it's okay to kind of minimize that time with them?
Yeah. I think
so I can put myself at the table?
Yeah. Well, I truly feel like you should be and could be at the table, but if that toxic behavior from that person is going to jeopardize, then I've got to give myself the freedom to maintain my sobriety first.
So that's why I bring that friend.
Yes, sir.
So they can see it and they say, let's go. So talking about triggers, some of the big triggers, family members, past rooms that we've stayed in, people. Do you experience any triggers during the holidays?
You know, I do. And during the holidays in my past, I was very financially driven around the holidays. And I would take on shame and maybe some guilt in not being able to afford, not being able to keep up with the Joneses. And, you know, with those things, you know, there is some work that I can do around that. Because so frequently I will make believe like if presents, happy Christmas, but the reality of my life has been that rarely has my financial well-being had an impact on my holiday well-being.
So your triggers come based on financial?
It can. It certainly can, and it comes based on the perception of how well I can treat those people I love. When today I feel like treating them with respect and honesty and integrity is probably the biggest Christmas gift I can give them, and you know, I think that's going to come out automatic.
See, I'm the opposite. I mean, financial is a big thing, but the people, the toxicity in that home, that's a trigger for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I'm the same way as I'm okay saying, hey, I'm going to be on time, I'm going to be here, but I'm going to limit that. I'm going to be here for X amount of time, and then I got to know myself, that I can feel myself. I was telling you before, I have a certain family member that just frustrates me, and they know how to get under my skin, but I can feel it coming. I can feel myself getting hot. I can feel my palms getting sweaty, and I get frustrated, and then I'm like, okay, I got to step away and realize that anger, right? HALT, halt, is part of just a trigger. It's just one of those steps that I need to learn how to control.
And maybe a bit different. We have a little different personality. Like my emotions get flowing on more of a recluse, a sadness, a shame. So when in my past failures have come into those situations and my family is trudging on, you know, doing their wonderful things. If I get drawn into the past, you know, then I can feel less than, and those things, you know, on the depression or some of that shame might lead me into a situation where I would normally use if I'm not taking care of myself.
So how do we handle depression? Mm-hmm. How do we handle it?
Gosh, it might be a complicated question because it does take some work. It has to do, for me, with my regret from the past. You know, I can steamroll on those negative feelings and maybe fear of the future. But I really try to stick with some people to stay centered and exercise those things to make sure that I can leave those things in the past. I can't leave them anywhere else. And for those things that are forthcoming, you know, with some support and some people that provide me examples of courage, maybe I can see a different vision in the future.
One thing that really helps me during the holidays is don't change my routine. Like, I'm a creature of habit. And so I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I get into my scriptures, and then I get ready for the gym, and I go to the gym, and I have this process that I do every day with my wife. The same process, because it keeps me sober. And not only that, but it keeps me grounded. Right? And what's interesting is just because we're at a family member's home or we're traveling on the holidays doesn't mean you still can't go to the gym, which eliminates depression, right? I can still go to church. So I can still do meetings. I can still hit these AA meetings, but it does take a little bit of planning. It takes a little bit of planning before we get there, before we leave, is to make them. Have you ever tried on vacation to hit these meetings? Have they been successful for you?
You know, and I have, and it's an interesting situation because I found even different parts of a metropolis will have a different feel or a different point of emphasis as they're handling the same 12 steps. And it can be a bit of a vacation from your regular group. We've got our meat and potatoes, but while we're traveling or experiencing some other cities, it can be really interesting. Always a welcome spot at a 12-step meeting for sure.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
They're different when you venture, and I'm not a huge 12-step guy. Like, I know it's crazy to say, it just wasn't what got me to sobriety. My personal relationship with God did. So that's where I have to really buoy up mine. One thing I want to speak about with the last couple minutes is this thought of, it's just a holiday. Like, don't panic. Don't throw everything out the window because you feel a trigger, because you're amongst different family members, you're doing different routines. How can I make that clearer?
Man, that you know, as you were talking about having a regular plan, you know, I think that's wonderful for sobriety. I think that's wonderful for anybody who has a plan to be a success, you know, in different areas of their life. And sticking to that regular plan for me is important in that you're right, December 24th, December 25th, March 20th. You know, these are still days that I'm going to make a commitment to myself. These are still days that I'm going to maybe have a written goal and be pursuing those things. So I can easily agree with you that we can take a lot of the steam out of the climax by realizing in the addict score, the recovering addict score, what's truly important, and that's today, maintaining sobriety with healthy line of thinking.
Wow, that's a good way to close that, man. I just want to pick your brain real quick. How are you? You said you have 2 years sobriety. You have a stressful job.
Sir.
Especially during the holidays, your job seems like it just gets busier. How do you maintain focus when you feel yourself getting out of control?
Gosh, that you know, through these last couple of years and through some advancement through the company, I've gotten a different feel for challenges in my life. Whereas in my active use, I might make sure I never lost by never really being in the game. But now adversity is welcome because I'm finding that in my personal life, my professional life, activities at the gym with my fitness, that as things get harder, the rewards get bigger. So, you know, I guess it's been through some support and through some great leadership at the office that I'm finding success along those lines.
So what's keeping you sober?
Gosh, there's really today my relationship with God and the truly real relationships I have with friends. I mean, I have people who care for me and love me in ways that I really couldn't fathom when I was still messing with the drugs or the alcohol.
At work, how many people know that you're a recovering addict?
And I'm transparent at work, and I might be living in some luxury by not having to hide it, but from owner to detailer, the company knows who I am, and I'm so thankful for that piece.
So how important is that? How important is that? Because we compare it to like this monster hiding under our bed. Like we feed it through our addiction. We just feed it, let it just grow, right? And we just tuck it in and pat it, and hey, everything's going to be okay. But once we rip it out and expose it and tell people, hey, listen, man, I'm a recovered addict. I've done things in my life that I'm not proud of, but I'm working on them. You know, these relationships with family, I'm working on. Friends, working on. These amends that I have to make, I'm working on them. So how do you feel like? How do you feel like we have to be so transparent? Because I mean, look at this. You're talking to a lot of people right now on the show.
Right. I could see where an individual's position could be unique. But to a level of transparency, when I was a sneaky person, Brock. I really was a sneaky person about money, finances, where I was keeping my stash, when I was high or not. And I feel like that transparency does zap the life out of that monster we're talking about. Now, depending on the profession, I can imagine those things being kept private could be of value, but the other aspects of my life, I truly think I have to keep it out in the open. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. We like to end our segment with a question from the community. So I want to personally ask you a question to see where you will go with it.
Yeah.
So the question I have for you is, in your sobriety, what's your best tool that you've learned through addiction recovery, through work, through all this? What's the biggest tool you can lend to somebody else?
Truthfully, in my life, I find it's valuable today to have real goals. Real goals to the point from what the goal is, and then a method on how I'm going to reach that. And that couples with a real desire to press. To press meaning like a real dedicated effort toward getting to those things. Because I'm finding with sobriety and integrity and good intention that if I'm hitting things full throttle for a particular goal and I miss, man, I'm still gaining on life.
Yeah.
I'm still heading the right way to sobriety, you know? And I miss most of the time. But today I couldn't imagine that 2 years ago I couldn't imagine my life would be here today.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching The Fix. I'm Brock Bevel. If you know someone who is struggling or affected by addiction, there's hope. There's always help out there. Please don't give up. You're important and your life matters. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.